Hey guys, good to see you. Todd, you're looking nice, fine and dandy today.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we'll get going. This will be recorded for everybody that's a little bit late, and for all the other W-2s that have a different training. But I was thinking of what to talk about this weekend, and so I thought I'd share my experience of last weekend. I did the Grand Canyon rim to rim to rim. This was a photo that Omar took himself, pretty cool. So just to kind of give you like a little bit of context as to what this is, it's like a famous hike. A lot of people do it as a backpacking trip, usually 2 or 3 days, or if you're like an ultra runner, you try to do it in the same continuous stretch, right? And so that's what we tried to do that's what we did, was go essentially 48 miles. So you go from basically like up here, one of the rims, the south rim of the Grand Canyon, all the way down. I've got a slide over here just to kind of give some context. So we started up here and we went 7 miles down, which was pretty brutal because you start at, I think we started at 4 in the morning with headlamps, and you start going down and you can look over and there's cliffs, drop-offs of like half-mile down, and it's kind of cool. These other ultra runners are going with their headlights just off into the abyss. And so you head pretty much 7 miles straight down, and it's hard on your knees, hard on your quads. You've got those little, hiking sticks and crap like that. And then you go 11 miles up along this side river, up this canyon. Then you go 7 miles up to the north rim, and then you have to go all the way back. So 7 miles all the way back down, 11 miles back this way, and then to end, you got to go 7 miles back up. And just to give you an idea, this is like about 5,500 feet of elevation gain. So basically from like going from the valley here to the tops of one of the mountains that you see in the valley here, like each time. Up, down, up, down, up, down. So it was a pretty tough thing. And I'm doing this because it's like a training checkpoint for me. I'm doing the Wasatch 100 in September, and so I'm trying to do a 100-mile trail race, and so this was a really good kind of benchmark or test for me. And so I did it with 3 other buddies, who are very fit, but various fitness levels. And I wanted to share, my message was the only way is through. And the reason why that was my message is essentially we did this pretty much before it was prime season, right? This side of the park, the North Rim, wasn't even open. And there's still a little bit of snow up here. And originally my plan was to start north and then go south and then back north. It was a smaller drive for us in Utah, but it wasn't open yet due to the late snow. So we kind of had to change our plans right from there. So once we started, one of our guys, about 15 miles in, about somewhere right here after we'd gone down to here, he started falling behind early. And I was really pretty surprised because he's very fit. And one of the things that he decided to do was he decided that he was going to bring his drone and his camera equipment in addition to all the other stuff that he wanted to carry. And I was kind of like, it's not a good idea. That's a lot of weight over a long period of time. And, even if it's just an extra couple of pounds really add up when you're going, this kind of distance. The other thing that we found out was that he wasn't taking a lot of his electrolytes, or really any electrolytes, or eating food when you first started. And so when I first started down in the canyon, when you do these ultras like this, I basically am like a professional eater. Like every 30 minutes, I'm just eating my food and my goos, because you're just trying to replace all the calories that your body's burning for later on in the day. In addition to that, you're eating a lot of electrolytes, essentially salts, because if you get behind on either of those things, you're going to start feeling it. So he started falling behind really early. And somewhere about right here, we'd kept waiting for him, and then we were ditching, trying to get him to ditch gear and hide stuff in the bushes for later, trying to lighten the load. And we did all of that, but still right around here, he knew that we had to go 7 miles up here and 7 miles back. And he was like, I'm just not going to make it. So he ended up turning around and had to go solo it back. And still, even though he turned around, he was already 14 and a half, 15 miles in. He had to go another 15 miles back just to just to get through. And my point is, for him, there was no one was coming to save him, right? Like, I guess we could have emergency called a ranger. They could have tried to like life flight some helicopter in or get hire mules. But even at that, they don't have the resources to do this for a lot of people. Essentially what they'll do is they'll just take you to a ranger station, try to get you, rehydrated, make you wait a long time, and then you gotta walk your ass right back out the way you came. So we went up this, and halfway up this, one of our other guys was struggling too. And right about here, we ran into a bunch of, started raining, pretty cold and blowing a lot of wind. So we're in this canyon cliff and getting rained on. And you're just thinking, oh, I just hope this doesn't turn into snow, or if this doesn't keep going, because 10 more hours of this, wouldn't be good. Fortunately, it stopped raining right about the time we got up to the top here. But one of the guys was considering calling his wife, who was stationed here at this camp, to drive around and just pick him up so he didn't have to go all that way back, right? Well, I reminded him, that's great, man, but it's actually a 5-hour drive from here all the way through the windy roads back over here. You're looking at a 10-hour round trip drive. And remember why we didn't start here? The gate's closed. So she's not going to be able to come here. So what was his way? The only way was through, right? So he had to go all that way back, the 23 miles that we just come to get up there, 24 miles to get back. There was no other choice. He was committed. So I was a little bit worried about it, but he really gutted it out, and we didn't go as quick as I'd like, but he made it all the way back out, all the way to the top. So this is a couple, pictures. This gives you like an idea of like the zigzags down. This is us taken with the drone that, at least it got some good footage before it had to get abandoned. Down at the bottom, crossing the Colorado River, but this kind of like gives you an idea of like what you do and like the breadth. And it was really cool because just how vast the Grand Canyon is, and like how you just basically go like miles down in. So it was a really cool achievement once we get all done. But one of the reasons why I love doing this stuff in the ultra is I always love to, I sat after for like an hour and I wrote down like literally what are my lessons in life from this experience, and what can I take and apply it towards my next race, right? Like what worked, what didn't work, what do I need to adjust to go essentially twice as far as that next time. And these are a couple things that I found out, like, don't fall behind on what you're supposed to be doing. And trust me, guys, I'm gonna parlay this all to, us as salespeople and what we should be doing. But we all know how it goes in the sales world, right? Doing what we do even in our jobs. If we fall behind in what is expected of us, it's much, much harder to catch up. A lot of times it's almost impossible, right? If you're a quota employee or you're doing something in your job or you fall behind on a project, it makes it much harder than if you just stayed up on it in the first place, right? I've got these guys doing landscaping at my house, this huge project, and they'd kind of gone a little bit slow, or at least by their company standards, had fallen behind on the project. And they had to put 3 13-hour days in a row in over the weekend to kind of stay on project. And it made me feel really bad for them, honestly, because they're working their butts off. But the project had fallen behind early. It's so much harder, guys, if you fall behind. So do the things that you need to do to stay on target to your goals, to your quotas, to your income earning, whatever you need to do. Don't fall behind. This guy that didn't make it, that was the biggest reason why he had to turn back early, was he wasn't doing the things that he knew he needed to be doing right at the beginning, even though it's hard. The other thing too is kind of like ounces add up in life. Ounces equal pounds, pounds equal pressure over time. And so when I'm doing these events, you're like not thinking about adding an extra pound or two. You're thinking of how can I literally get rid of ounces. And for me, the mistake that I made myself was I'd never done this before. I wanted to be over prepared rather than under prepared. I wanted to be like the Scoutmaster just in case anybody didn't bring enough stuff. I ended up taking twice as much water, twice as much food, twice as much clothes. And so I myself carried probably 7 extra pounds this whole time too. And it added up, you know, it was extra hard on the legs. So what does that mean for you all? There are things that we do or carry in our lives or into our jobs, our careers, our relationships that don't serve us, right? Things that we need to let go of. So, you know, I always do like an audit afterwards, like, well, what did I have with me that I didn't need? Why did I think I should have done this? I encourage all of you to do that in your lives as well. You know, like, what are you bringing? What are the ounces that are adding up in your life that aren't necessarily serving you? And how can you ditch those and get rid of those to better perform, to go further? Be a scientist of what works. So one of the cool things about this is, you know, everybody's body's different. Everybody functions different. Food that I like to eat on there might make somebody else sick. You guys have heard all these stories of people when they do like ultra stuff where they like get sick and have to go puke or diarrhea down their leg or something like that, you know. That stuff's real. Doesn't happen to me because I'm a scientist of my own body, but it happened to one of my guys, right? Like, he's off on the side of the road, on the side of the trail, you know, doing his business. Only him and the Lord know what happened in those bushes over there. But become a scientist of what works for you all. And that goes into your life, your career, your job. What's working for you? Like, you know, and if something's not, change it up. Try something else. This goes for all of you guys if you're doing, you know, sales, if you're prospecting leads, if you're not having the success you want, change it up. Become a scientist of what works and don't be afraid to change it. Dial it in, and what works for you is not going to be necessarily what works for everybody else. And what everybody else is doing may not be what works for you. Prepare with perfection. This is a thing that, you know, really comes in to play when you're doing these distance things. You've got to be like dialed in. I got to know what socks I'm wearing. I wear these really ugly, sexy socks. My wife, they're toe socks. Like, each little toe has its own little cubby. So toe socks. I have shoes. I tie my shoes a specific way. I put KT tape on my legs. You have to wear like specific underwear and clothes that you know doesn't want to chafe, because you have to prepare all these things with perfection. Because if not, some small thing that, you know, a small pebble in your shoe is going to give you a blister over a long period of time. A little chafe thing that's slightly uncomfortable is going to cause you big problems, you know, 40 miles down the road. And so that's with all of us in a sales-minded job, in a performance position. I think a lot of us don't prepare at all, right? Let alone prepare with perfection. We just kind of show up, whatever happens to us. You know, maybe we're not in the right mindset. I think, you know, for me, on days when I am doing my best, waking up on time, I'm reading a book in the morning, I'm feeding my mind, body, spirit a little bit to be prepared for what I'm going to be doing, and I'm better set to face the day and perform. It's the whole reason why we do sales meetings like this, right? Adjust and iterate. This is something that I think all of us can be doing throughout our daily lives, especially in a sales career or you know, working for yourself, however we're doing it as agents. But are we afraid to change something if something's not working? You know, I'll see sales reps that are saying the same stupid thing on the phone. They're saying the same thing to leads, and it's not working time after time after time again. And I'm like, change it up. Say something different. In sales, it's called a pattern interrupt, right? Like, if you're calling people or whether you're knocking doors or something, people are automatically psychologically programmed to just what? Say no, hang up. So I would always try to do some sort of pattern interrupt. Say something goofy, say something weird, be extra nice, say something to kind of throw them off their game from their pre-programmed, I'm just a no-saying machine. This is a salesperson. I'm saying no, right? Adjust and iterate. If you're working hard and you're not getting the results you want, what can you adjust? What can you change? And continually be doing that till you refine your process till you get to what what you need to be doing, and you're getting the results that you need. And what happens? We all inevitably get into some sort of slump, right? And what is that? Well, we stop doing the things that we learned when we were on that path, when we were adjusting, when we were iterating. Something slid back down, and it's time to make those changes again. So make sure in your careers, in your businesses, that you're always trying to identify what you could or could be doing better. When I'm doing these big events, I do this thing in my mind that I call like a systems check. And in my mind, I just start like at my feet, and I'm like, what hurts? What's weird? What feels good? What doesn't feel good? And then I go up my body, like what feels good in my knees? Are my shoes hurting? Are my shoes too tight? Is there anything that I can adjust to make it so down the road, hours or miles from here, I'm feeling better, right? It's easier on me. And that's what we all need to be doing in our jobs and our careers too, as salespeople. Go at your own pace. While it's great, right? There's like that quote that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Yeah, that's kind of true-ish, but sometimes it's better to go fast and far if you have to go alone a little bit, There were definitely parts of this where I loved going through it with my buddies, but going at their pace hurt me because I wanted to go a little bit quicker. And I think a lot of us, we're social creatures, especially if you're like working in an in-office environment or you're working with other people. And a lot of times you're either going to perform at a higher level and be dragged up at someone else's pace, or you're going to, maybe pace yourself and match somebody else's pace that's not as good. I see it all the time where sales reps or people are kind of like, I could be doing better, but I'm doing just as good as these other people, and they like to kind of layer in. Go at your own pace, right? Make sure nobody's holding you back. Make sure that you're going at a pace that works for you. If you're with others, performance-wise, or you don't feel like they're necessarily in your best interest, sometimes you gotta metaphorically break free and kind of do your own thing, right? Maybe there's habits going on. Things are too social where you're at. Maybe you're spending too much time, wasting too much time throughout the day with others. Go at your own pace. Make sure that, others aren't holding you back. And then lighten the load, right? This kind of goes to like the ounces add up, but just make sure that whatever you can do to perform your best, that you're giving yourself your best chance. And what I meant by that was, I'm too heavy right now to like go 100 miles. I've been lifting too much, and I got to drop like 15 or 16 pounds, I decided, before I actually tried this 100-miler. And the reason being is because it doesn't serve me to carry all that extra muscle and all that extra fat on this big, long distance. So again, that's just kind of what are we all carrying in our lives that are preventing us from hitting our goals, right? Are there things that we're doing, whether they be habits, maybe we're staying up too late at night, maybe we're drinking too much on the weekends, maybe we're, engaged in any other habits or things that don't serve us, that we need to lighten those burdens so we can get to where we want. So that's my message. A lot of random Mike-isms, takeaways from my experience last weekend. So hopefully that benefits any of y'all. Trainings and updates, guys. So Dan and I and Jeff, we went out to UnitedHealthcare's headquarters on Tuesday. We flew out. It was really cool. Went to Minnesota. Dan and I have been working with UnitedHealthcare for 17 years. It's the first time we've been invited out to their headquarters. We actually were invited out by the Golden Rule UH1 team, but we went to the Optum headquarters. As you guys may have heard, they had some security incident in the past couple of months, so they had some security perimeter and some checkpoints we had to get in. But it was really cool to go to UnitedHealthcare's mothership, right, their headquarters. They took us into this, what they called like their innovation center. They put us up on this like fancy screen, welcome, and then they went and showed us all these like health dashboards, all of these data-driven decisions that they make, real-time, like hospital admissions and things like that they're working on a macro level to see all the, collective view of healthcare across the country. they were highlighting the fact that they're the 4th largest company in the country, essentially, and they're responsible for a lot of healthcare delivery. And so a lot of times we think of UnitedHealthcare as like an insurance plan, but there's so much more than that as far as the ecosystem. They own hospital systems, they own Optum, they own care management, they own clinical, they own data, right, on all these different aspects. So it was kind of cool to take a peek behind the curtain and see their facility. We had the opportunity to like basically give them the pitch on who Agent Boost is at a deep level, go through a whole kind of slide deck, and then give them a pitch of how we're going to continue to grow with them. So obviously we've been bullish on these supplemental products, the golden rules and the all states and things like that. And there's a reason. We're seeing all these changes continuing to happen in the industry, and it's creating a lot more space for products like that. Space creates opportunity, and for us that creates revenue potential. So just wanted to share that with you all. Reminders, don't be sales raptors, right? We're agents, we're enrollers. We're not just looking for a quick enrollment. We're looking to serve these clients, serve these members. Long term, that's going to be the differentiator between us, between Agent Boost, you all, and some of these agencies that don't survive these difficult times. It's really going to be that customer service driven attitude of being a fiduciary for these clients that's going to be the differentiator. Effectuation, we've been doing better on this, but we're going to keep banging that drum, right? We're not ever hitting an enrollment. We're not ever processing an enrollment without certainty, or at least very close thinking that that's going to turn into an actual application, right? That's going to turn into an enrollment. We do not get paid to click the submit button on the carrier website or on Sunfire. We get paid when that policy goes into effect, right? When that policy turns into an enrollment. So don't do yourselves a disservice by just processing poor business, right? Let's write quality business. Let's make sure that we're following up on it, not just through effectuation, but then the right appropriate person takes control over that. Make sure that we're following up with it. The retention team will do their thing, or if you're an independent agent, that you're servicing that client in perpetuity, right? Let's be good agents. Again, pipeline lead management. I'm going to start checking in on some of this stuff. I hope you all are using the CRM like we should appropriately. I hope we're properly pipelining business, especially those T65s. This time of year lock-in, those who have been effectively pipelining or will continue to do so are going to have the best overall years. Keep in mind, sounds crazy to say, but AEP is just 5 months from today. There's going to be business that you all encounter right now that maybe we can't help them right now, but we're going to be able to pipeline for AEP. Community center, we've been putting some good stuff in here. Have you guys been using this community center for the trainings and things like that? We're going to continue to put out good things there, valuable resources, continual training. Things like this are really differentiators, guys. Agents outside of our company, our ecosystem, are really looking for training hubs and resources and things like this. Communities like the Slack community. So I hope you all take advantage of those. Reminder, $500 bonus for agents once they become active. We are doing the Elite Agent Training here on the 20th and the 21st. Or is it 20th, 21st, right? I was like, thought all of a sudden I convinced myself it was the 21st and 22nd. Really good. If you have anybody that wants to get into the industry or that wants to know about Agent Boost, they don't have to be contracted with us. This training is free, and we're gonna, anything that's valuable to like our W2 channel or our LOA, we'll carve this up and make sure that you all have access to it as well. But a lot of it, is more like business management and things like that, stuff that may not necessarily apply to you if you're on the W2 channel. Reminder for Grand Cayman, guys, we're already starting to book some hotels and stuff like that. In Grand Cayman on 7 Mile Beach, there's not a ton. It's not like a massive island, and there's not a ton of hotels. So we've got to kind of book stuff early. Just a reminder for this, it's 800 points minimum, and the top 10 point earners are going to go. Right now it's WellCare 5 points, Humana 2.5, Golden Rule and Allstate are 2. This is probably going to be changing. UH1 Golden Rule, I would suspect, might go up a point or something like that. But it's a really great way to start stacking points early. This is kind of the early iteration of the sales tracker. And keep in mind, guys, this is what goes into effect, right? So if your policy rapid disenrolls, it's going to drop off of this. But this is at least a good first look at kind of like where people are trending. As you can see, we already have some reps that are, 165 points-ish, and trending really well, right? So I'll be really diligent about posting this, kind of keeping everybody up to date as to, where they're at as we go throughout the rest of the year. But that's a very achievable metric for a lot of people, I feel like. Shout outs for last month. These are our rock stars of the month that we did the incentives for the concerts. If you're in Florida, Ben will fulfill that for you in some way, shape, or form, or remotes. Rookies, top rookies of last month were Christine and Sophia. Overall sales, Adriana. Shout out Adriana, she's just always a machine. Ethan and John Ernest, and then top WellCare were Jordan and Lorena. So all of those were our rock stars, right? And if they're in Utah, we got them the concert tickets for out there at Utah First Amphitheater, let people choose. And if they're in Florida remote, Ben's gonna reach out to them, make sure we fulfill it with something commensurate. Last month, top enrollments of April. So some of these agents had really, really great months. Shout out to these guys. The Isnords, husband and wife, just crushing it. Great job, great job. Looping back to kind of overall incentives, I'm gonna send out a survey. It's been a while since I've done this, about what kind of things you all care about. The quarterly King and Queen's Court thing that we've been doing, the dinners, we've kind of got off track of that a little bit. And then see if that's still a big interest there. The concerts, the trips, anything else. Of course, we always know money, extra money and bonuses always motivate people. But I'd kind of like to get an updated pulse on, what moves the needle for you all. So I'll be looking for that survey out there, open to feedback as well. But I'm going to be refocused on doing a lot better job of running those ongoing promotions and campaigns. Anything else? You guys got anything? Any questions? Appreciate you guys. 30 minutes on the dot. Love it. Thanks, guys.